Get ready for the big revival. The real estate revival, that is. Now on 77 WABC, your New York weekend.
Get ready for the big revival.
It's Rand on Real Estate. Look out! With Greg Rand.
Welcome to the big real estate revival. My name is Greg Rand. This is 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. This show is all about seeing past the Great Recession. My mission here is to help you see past it, to show you how to make the right moves now so that you can look back in 10 years and know that you played this thing like a champ. My name again is Greg Rand. My website is OwnAmerica.com. That's Own America, like how cool is it that you can own a piece of America. I'm here with Laura Smith, my producer. How are you?
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, always it's a pleasure to have you here. So the show today is going to be great. We're going to talk about real estate investing as an entrepreneurial pursuit. We're going to dig into what I like to call second-tier cities. Okay, there's a special opportunity out there when you go past, New York, LA, and Chicago and start digging into these cities with smaller populations but bigger potential. We're going to dig in on that and talk about one in particular, Jacksonville, Florida. We'll get to that in another segment. We're going to talk about the investment strategy that we espouse here, which is buy, improve, and hold. Everyone's heard of buy and hold, right? But professional investors look for an opportunity to improve something, okay? An ugly duckling. Find something about a property that's missing, fix it, and increase value. So we're going to dig into that. We want to take your calls. Anything real estate, give me a call, especially if you don't agree with me. If you're having trouble shaking the negativity out there, love to hear from you because I want to see if I can help you fix that. But if you have an idea on a piece of property that you think could use improvements, whether it be physical or otherwise, call me on that. Our number here is 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. So get on the phones, give us a call. Let's talk about this. This really is the opportunity of your lifetime right now in real estate investment. So we're going to get into all those kind of things in your calls. But first, I want to talk about, you can't be sitting here in Midtown Manhattan on September 10th and not make reference to what happened not far from here 10 years ago. Coming in today, my mom actually called me and said, "Can you call in sick?"
Aww.
So, Mom, I don't think it works that way on radio. It's like the show must go on kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's an interesting, we're sitting here, 20 stories above Penn Station right now. And so, you're coming down and it crosses your mind that we have an elevated terror threat right now, et cetera. And everybody's out there talking about where they were 10 years ago when it hit, what they were thinking, how it felt and everything. I want to take a little bit of a different approach, and that is to take you back there and think for a minute. September 11th hit a year or 2 years after the tech stock bubble burst, okay? And I'm wondering why we didn't have the Great Recession back then, right? We're slogging through this painful recession right now that was a result of the credit crisis and, the housing bubble, et cetera. But how come we didn't have a Great Recession back in 2001? I mean, the circumstances back then were better in terms of being perfect for a major economic slump because we were in a bit of a recession coming out of the last decade. We had this massive tech stock bubble, so, trillions of dollars of wealth evaporated overnight. A lot of people lost a lot of money. And then right after that, we get this unprecedented attack on the homeland right down there in downtown Manhattan. Clearly, the objective was to take our economy out, okay, and drive us down. So why? Why didn't we have a Great Recession back then? And if you ponder this, if you listen to this show, if you read my book, Crash Boom, available on Amazon, take my courses, you're going to know that I believe deeply in the idea that these kinds of economic phenomenon, like booms and crashes, they certainly have an economic component to them, but they have a human component. And the human component, I've always believed, is more important. We get crazy. Go back to the Great Depression. The roaring 20s, everybody's crazy, everybody's greedy, everybody's having a big party, stock market crashes, everybody freaks out. And for 14 years, we have a depression that was prolonged by people's inability to shake it off, to snap out of it, all right? The belief was, and I interviewed a bunch of folks from my book who lived through it, and it's true. The belief was it's going to get worse, it's going to stay bad, and a lot of people talk about World War II, building tanks, building airplanes is what got us out of the Great Depression, but it wasn't, all right? It was fighting and winning World War II that got us out of the Great Depression from the human being standpoint, okay? We had to, as a people, get distracted by something more important than the Depression to actually snap us out of it. I look back 10 years ago, and I can't help but think that the reason why we didn't have the Great Recession back in the early part of the 2000s was because we all got real serious about what was important in life. All right? I mean, that put that event put everything in focus, all right? And we didn't have time anymore or energy to squabble over our differences, all right? Like today, you know, if you hate Republicans, if you hate Democrats, if you hate unions, if you hate fat cats on Wall Street, I don't care who you hate. We just got to get over that and get past it. And an event like this, the 10-year anniversary, I feel like it's got me focused. Like I'm ticked off again. You know, I'm watching it on TV. They're showing the footage of 9/11, you know, in a big way this week. And I'm finding myself getting mad all over again. And I kind of feel like I want to embrace that. You know, like it wasn't a bad thing. When we all got ticked off 10 years ago, that I believe, you know, our leaders back then, love them or don't love them, they gave us the right message back then. They said, don't stop living, right? Don't lock yourself in your cave, and don't not get on airplanes. Don't not go to restaurants. Don't not go to movies. Don't you dare let them win by having you change your lifestyle. Don't be afraid. You have to keep being Americans. You have to keep living your life. That was a little thing that I think went a really long way because, you know what, we did that. We did that. And they must have been real frustrated out there in their caves that we were over here going about our business. It was beautiful coming into the city today because with my mom calling me and freaking me out saying, take a day off, this city is going along the way it always goes along. There was a whole crowd of people hanging out in front of the library. There was, you know, Bryant Park was jammed. There's just, you know, there's a somber tone, but there's definitely that sense that, hey, we have to continue to live our lives. So the message here and the tie-in with real estate is the idea that you have to shake it off, okay? You can't worry about your neighbors, okay? This is not something I can't sit here and solve, you know, everybody in this country being mad at each other these days. But the truth is that we're never getting out of this recession until we get over it. We're never going to get out of this until we break that pattern and decide, and it's an individual thing. I've made that decision. I want you to make that decision where you say, you know what, I know that in these kinds of crises there is huge opportunity. I know this. I'm hearing all this negativity all around me. I don't care. Okay, double dip recession, guess what? We got one, okay? We're in it right now. I think we're in the same recession that we've been in for the last 3 years, but call it what you want. We're there, but you don't have to be, and you shouldn't be. And so you may have another idea, okay, of how to capitalize on this situation, how to build business, how to build wealth, how to use your ingenuity and your hard work and some of your capital to go out and build wealth despite what's going on right now. But if you don't have an idea, that's what this show is about because I've got one for you. So we're going to come back here and we're going to talk. We have a couple of calls. We're going to jump to them. We're going to talk about Jacksonville, Florida. We're going to talk about buy, improve, hold. You're listening to Rand on Real Estate on 77 WABC. Back in a minute. Welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I am Greg Rand, your host on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. Our number here is 800-848-WABC, and I see some people have taken advantage of the offer to give us a call, so let's do that. We've got Angelo from Belmore, New Jersey. How you doing, Angelo?
Yeah, hi, Greg. How are you today?
I'm doing great. What's on your mind?
Well, I have a question that I don't know how to resolve. In 2010, I was ill. I have about 5 pieces of property, but one of the properties that I own, I had it was a 3-family house. I had 2 vacancies while I was in the hospital for 43 days, unable to work for about 7 months. Needless to say, because I wasn't able to pay the bill, everything else was current because the tenants paid the other mortgages. But in this one particular property, I wasn't able to do so. But going back to work after about a year and a half, up to this coming July, I paid all the back payments and mortgages, and I got current. Now, immediately after that, I was called by a company that was offering to work with the bank, in this particular case, Bank of America, on a short sale where they figured that if the property was worth less than what the mortgage, they would be willing to do the short sale and get me off the hook.
Is that the case, Angela? Is it actually worth less than the mortgage balance right now?
Yeah, absolutely, because at the time what happened was that I bought this about 8 years ago, and I refinanced. You
refinanced at the peak. I got that. All right, so the question is then, they're giving you an offer to get out from under. Okay, you've got some negative equity. The big question I have is the place fully occupied now, and are you able to generate positive cash flow today?
Well, yeah, the place is fully occupied right now. the thing is I have a higher percentage rate than I should have because it was financed about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm kind of desperate because my credit. The reason why I was thinking about doing this is because they offered that my credit would be restored. Even though I'm current with everything else at 100%, my credit still not restored because I went close to a foreclosure. So with the real estate market the way it is today, I'm itching to buy something because I'm back to normal, but I really can't because of the dark the history behind this one particular property.
All right, so let me jump in a second, Angelo. I think what you're going to want to do, Bank of America actually does an exceptional job of this. The fact that they reached out to you to try to help you get out from under is a pretty good thing. I think a lot of people out there give the big banks a bad rap because they're doing a lot of good work trying to see if they can process through this. But I would get in writing what they mean by you're going to get your credit restored. Because what they might mean, when they make a statement like that, the person might mean that your credit's not going to get hurt as badly as it would if it got foreclosed on. But they can't always go back and undo history, all right? And so when they say restored, I'm thinking they don't mean they're going to go back and erase the fact that you missed a bunch of payments a few years ago. I'm thinking they mean it's going to be better now. And so, number one, if you're going to sell the property and go out and buy another property, a 3-family piece of real estate in the New York metro area is a gold mine, all right? That would be something that I would want to hang on to if I could. Now, if they're allowing you out of it and you think you can do better, if you could buy another property down the street for less that's identical to it, that might be worthwhile. But make sure, Angelo, that you don't go under the assumption that your credit's going to be pristine when you get out of this thing just to find out you sold a good property, you try to buy the next one, and lo and behold, your credit's not perfectly squeaky clean and you can't do it. So I hope that helps. I got to jump to the next call, Andrew. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Email me at greg@ownamerica.com if you want to go deeper into it. That's cool. All right, we've got Rob in Brooklyn. How you doing, Rob?
How you doing, Greg? I live in Brooklyn, but actually what I'm talking about is more of Queens and Long Island because that's where we do our business. But just as a general question, we own 2 businesses. We're veterinarians, and we own 2 hospitals, one in Queens, one in Long Island, and we're looking to basically expand now. Neither of the practices that we own that generate our cash now we own the real estate on. But as a general principle, I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about like the commercial crash sort of hasn't come yet. And, I don't know what your feelings on that are. Like, if we're going to expand to smaller spaces, should we just simply go and open up businesses and then, use the extra money that we would be putting into a mortgage to, like, maybe invest in something like HUD properties or, Florida properties or something like that, versus whether it's better to get into commercial real estate? Yeah.
All right, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that, Rob, because people say real estate, and they don't always specify which kind, residential or commercial. Because there's a difference, all right? I focus on housing in my business and my recommendations because housing, I talk about small units also, 1 family, 2 to 4 family, and condos. I don't get into big apartment complexes. And the reason is that the demand for a house is unique. There's nothing else quite like the factors that drive demand for a unit of housing that has a backyard, okay? Right. People want that. It's wired into them that they want that. Commercial real estate comes back, for example, when businesses come back. All right, when businesses begin to expand, they then take on more space for offices, more space for their storefronts, et cetera. So the economy, it's like commercial is generally going to be a lagging indicator. When the economy has clearly turned the corner and companies are now putting the pedal back to the metal, you'll see commercial real estate demand begin to increase. But residential real estate is, we're talking about right now today, people are coming out of homes and still need to live someplace. It isn't like a business can say, I'm going to shut a store down and I still have my other store. You need a roof over your head. And so if there's a human being in this country, they want to live indoors, they're going to need a place to live. And so, listen, commercial real estate can be a phenomenal investment. Right now, my recommendation is to be looking at if your business can do better cash flow wise by having your rent bill be lower, and that'll give you some extra capital to do something else with. That would give you a great opportunity to diversify and buy Angelo's 3-family when he sells it in the short sale, because there's different demand factors there.
Because the taxes on the commercial are just brutal, especially out in Long Island. I mean, I don't even know how anybody could, the amount of, between the mortgage and the taxes, we'd be paying probably 3 times what we're paying in rent,
So the bottom line, Rob, is that it's a completely different product.
Different animal.
It's a different animal, and you're right, the costs are higher, the risks are higher because the demand is not as built in, And everything that I talk about here is geared towards the idea that there's nothing shaking the demand for housing in this country. So, Rob, I hope that helps. Thank you for the call. Dave, how are you, Dave?
Good. How you doing?
Thanks for calling. What's going on?
Not too much. I have a sort of a tie-in with the last caller, but not exactly. I mean, basically, I have the same kind of model that you're talking about, and this has nothing to, all the stuff that you're talking about, whether you're generally optimistic or not. That doesn't really matter if banks are automatically pessimistic.
Yeah, it's a good question. So you can't get financing like you could a couple of years ago, but you can get financing today exactly like you could 10 years ago or 15 years ago. In other words, people put a lot of emphasis on the idea that banks are tightening standards. The banks are normalizing standards, all right? The way that they're lending today in the mortgage business is exactly like they did back in 1995, all right? And so we got used to something different, but that wasn't the reality, and we saw the results of them loosening the standards. So banks are lending. You have to be a really good credit risk for them to do it right now. They're tricky when it comes to dealing with loans for residential investment in that you basically, bottom line in this is that you have to put a big hunk of money down as a down payment. Otherwise, the banks don't want to talk to you. And I'm good with that, because you put down 30%, 40% on a piece of investment property, and you're going to be able to generate really solid cash flow because your mortgage is lower. It's just basic math. Your mortgage is lower, it's smaller, so you're able to cover your costs better. That gives you staying power, meaning, you've got a smaller mortgage, you've got tenants that are paying it off, you've got the ability to ride this thing all the way to the promised land, and it might be 8 years away, and so you have to make sure you have that staying power. But don't believe them when they say the banks aren't lending, because they are to good credit risks.
They are. Well, yes and no. But the thing is, even if, like in my credit, I mean, I've never been a day late or a dollar short. I have 10 houses, which are kind of like 2 to 4 family basically. But once overnight with the Lehman crash, it went from getting residential mortgage terms to pushing you automatically into commercial loan territory, which is a reset every 5 years. So you have basically short-term financing on a long-term asset, which is
not a good fit. Yeah, that's a really good. Glad you mentioned that. That's a good thing for people to understand. When you own 10 properties, the standard the standard mortgages that are out there, backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that most of the mortgage companies, even most of the banks, are actually lending you those loans. They cap it at 10 loans, 10 investment properties, and so once you go to the 11th, you turn into a whole different kind of animal here, and it's true that you wind up having to qualify like a commercial loan. And a commercial loan doesn't say, show me your numbers, I'll see if you fit into the program. Commercial loans also look, they look under the hood. They want to know your other interests. They want to know, they evaluate you as a borrower kind of in a more comprehensive way. So it does get more complicated at that 10 properties plus level. But I think it's going to change. I don't know if you caught this, Dave, but about 3 weeks ago, the federal government, HUD, the Treasury Department put out what they called a request for information from the private sector. They wanted private sources of capital to give suggestions to Washington, imagine that, on how to convert foreclosures into rental properties. In other words, what can we do at the government level to help turn 500,000 foreclosed properties into rental stock? And the advice they're going to get, because they got it from me, but they're going to get it from a lot of other people who know something about this, is get out of the way on some of these regulations that keep investors from borrowing. For example, why put a cap on 10 properties? If you have 10 properties and they're performing and you're paying the loans, they should want to loan you 90 more mortgages for those properties because you've obviously demonstrated a capacity to be able to handle that. And so that's one of those things that I think has been established from an earlier time in history when they wanted to cap the number of people out there that were investors because they were trying to encourage homeowners to buy properties, and they were actually holding investors back. So watch for that to potentially change over the next year as A, they start thinking deregulation on some of these factors, and B, private sector lenders begin to lick their chops again and say, hey, the investor market, they're doing, hundreds of thousands of loans every year of people buying investment properties and renting them out. And right now, nobody's competing aggressively for that business. And so you're going to see mortgage companies begin to get aggressive by going after people just like you and saying, hey, we'll loan you 10 more and we'll make it easier for you to be able to get the money. So things will get better, I think, very shortly. All right, so thank you. I appreciate the call. I hope that helped. All right, so we're going to go to a break now. If you want to call us for the next segment, the number here is 800-848-WABC. What's that? Yes, and we have a guest. We're going to be talking to the top real estate guy in Jacksonville, Florida. So it's going to be terrific. Stay tuned. Rand on Real Estate, back in a minute. Welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I'm Greg Rand, your host on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. Keep those calls coming in, 800-848-9222. But now we're going to talk, as promised, about a specific market. Every show I like to dig deep in one place around the country because I want you to see that this country is as diverse in terms of opportunities as the stock market could dream about. You know, the stock market, you have something for everybody. You can invest in this sector or that sector, in this stock and that stock. Well, the national housing market has kind of the same thing going for it in that no two places in this country are exactly the same. And there are things that are changing, things that are shifting all the time that are creating opportunities in all kinds of parts of the country. And the beauty of it is that if I could teach you how to be a market analyst, there's nobody, you know, like when you try to invest in the stock market, you're going up against people who do this all day long, who've got systems and technologies and resources that you couldn't dream about, and you are competing with them to get the right stock price, to make the right buy, etc. Okay? Here, you can become the foremost expert on some little piece of dirt that nobody else is paying attention to. And what we're going to talk about now is not a place no one's paying attention to. A lot of people are paying attention to it, and it's one of what I call the second-tier cities. Okay, cities with a population, you know, between 500,000 and 1.5 million people. Okay, so call it 1 million people that have the potential to double their population. You know, New York with 20 million or whatever people in the metro area, it ain't going to double in terms of the size of population. But places that are growing and where investments are being made have the potential to see population go up over a 10-year period in dramatic increases. You know, 30, 40, 50%, even 100% increase in population. And remember, population increases equals demand for housing. So what we do is we look around, look at the numbers, look at the stats, look at the migration patterns, and then we find somebody on the ground, somebody who really knows the market, who's been there for a long time, who knows it like the back of their hand, who then, once we establish what's going on, they can tell us why it's going on. And so we're going to talk about Jacksonville, Florida today, okay? Northern Florida. It's a major city in the state of Florida. There are some things about it that I think are going to pique your interest. And so we've got the foremost expert on the line here from Jacksonville. His name is Ed Foreman. How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Greg?
Wonderful. Thank you. Ed is the president of Watson Realty, which is a huge real estate company, one of the top 10 real estate companies in all the country. And they happen to do business in Jacksonville all the way across to Orlando. And Ed runs that show over there, and we're very proud to have him as part of the OwnAmerica network now. So, Ed, tell us just sort of in a nutshell here, what's going on in Jacksonville? Why is everybody moving there right now?
Well, everyone loves the climate. We have a little bit of winter, nothing like in the Northeast, not as hot as Miami. So a lot of people are moving here. They love it here. It's close to the ocean, and, you know, the infrastructure is great. So just a wonderful place to live. The people are very nice and very friendly.
Well, that's great, and you know, and you're a good spokesman for all of them because you're a nice, friendly fellow yourself. We're here in New York, okay? New Yorkers are conditioned to be comfortable with Florida, right? That I-95 corridor, everybody's gone down there. Everybody has friends that live down there, and so the folks listening up here, we think of Florida though as sort of a retirement community. The entire state comes across like a retirement community to people up here in New York because that's where people from New York go to retire. Jacksonville is not that way though, right? Jacksonville is a city that sustains itself on its industry, the economics there are not dependent on retirees because that's not really your thing, right?
Right. And there are just wonderful opportunities. There's Mayo, banking, Navy, a lot of businesses. The international airport is here. Very good for shipping, very good for the ports. And everyone just loves the ocean and the waterfront, and the prices are reasonable as compared to other parts of the country. Yeah,
well, that's the key. I mean, your numbers right now are down to like 2001 prices, okay? So you've been impacted by the housing meltdown down there price-wise, but there's no good reason why Jacksonville real estate should be selling for prices that were being gotten back in 2001. But you mentioned the port, and I learned something about Jacksonville when I was researching it that really attracted my interest, okay, and is causing me to go dig deeper and actually make recommendations to institutional investors that we counsel to be looking seriously at Jacksonville, and that is the Panama Canal being widened. What's happening, I mean, people are familiar with the Panama Canal, right? These large container ships are able to come through the Panama Canal, and they can cut out having to go all the way around the south tip of South America. But the ships that have been built over the last couple of decades are 5 times bigger than the ships that were being built when they built the canal. So the biggest cargo ships can't get through the canal until 2014, right? So they're widening the canal. They're making it big enough now for these mega monster ships. And the key is, if you think about where the big population is, the biggest concentration of population and wealth in the world is the Northeast United States. The biggest concentration of production and manufacturing of goods and the fastest growing sector of the planet right now is Southeast Asia. You look at a globe, try to get to New York from Southeast Asia, all right? You have to either land on the West Coast, land your ship on the West Coast, put everything on trucks and trains and bring it across, or you have to go all the way around the southern tip of South America if you want to get one of these big container ships over there. So the widening of the Panama Canal makes a dramatic impact on the port business, because the first port you hit, if you come through the Panama Canal and you want to get to New York City with your stuff, the first port you hit is Jacksonville. So now is that factor being talked about down there? Are they marketing that fact, and are people aware in the area there? Is that already beginning to attract jobs now?
Yes, they are, and the port is taking a very aggressive position as far as widening the channel and all the loading, unloading, the docking facilities. They have really made a huge investment, and they are securing international accounts, and it really is booming. That is adding a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunity to the Northeast Florida area.
And so now tie that in for me with the Navy, right? You've got a major naval presence there. And, obviously, a ship is a ship, right? So if you spent a lot of time in the Navy, piloting one of those things, is there a tie in there in terms of job growth?
Yes, there is. And another thing that speaks well of Jacksonville is a lot of the military who retire here. They come here in the Navy, retire here, remain here. And I think that speaks volume. But there's a huge Navy NAS, Mayport, and then you also have Kings Bay, which is in southeast Georgia, which is only about 45 minutes up from Jacksonville. Huge Navy installation, and that really brings a lot of benefits.
So they've been all over the world. They check out Jacksonville. They're in the Navy. They decide to retire and stay there. And then with this port growing, they've got a built-in job opportunity situation happening right there. Is that one of the reasons why they are attracted to retire there also, besides the climate and the scenic beauty and the lifestyle? But is there a plug-and-play opportunity for the Navy there to retire people and have them be able to work?
Yes, I think so, because a lot of the retired military people are on their either second or third jobs. And you also have some universities here that are good, too. University of North Florida, FCCJU, really some good educational facilities here as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, I tell you, it's a bit of a sleeper in terms of people don't talk about it so much. I'm getting around the country and talking about real estate investing. The second-tier cities that people don't necessarily, not on the tip of their tongue. People talk about Phoenix and Vegas all the time like those are the only places to invest. And I look at Jacksonville and say, you know what, with a median sale price at, let's see, you're finishing the year someplace in the ballpark of $120,000 is the median price of a piece of residential real estate in your marketplace. That's, like I said, back to, it's more like 2002 prices right now. So you've given back a lot of the appreciation. Now, can you give me an idea of, if I had, just give me a picture, paint a picture of a standard 3-bedroom house, family house, how big, how much would it cost, and how much could it rent for?
Well, you can find a real nice 3-bedroom home, 2 baths, probably a 2-car garage in the area of $125,000. You could go as low as $75,000, so $100,000 to $125,000. Probably anywhere between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. And what is happening is the rental rates are really escalating. There's a shortage of rental properties, and they would rent for somewhere between $1,000, $1,075 to maybe $1,400 or $1,500 a month, depending on the location and the home.
So you're making money every month in that situation. That is I don't have to do the math on that to know that is a positive cash flow. You go buy a house like that, you put 25 or 30% down, you're making a couple $100 a month in positive cash flow, and you're catching Jacksonville at a point in its history where it's taken a beating on home prices for reasons that it is not to blame for, okay? It was the housing crisis that impacted all of the Southeast. So the prices are down. demand for rentals are going up, and demand for housing is continuing to go up because of the factors we've talked about, migration coming in, jobs coming in, and the industry expanding. It's a pretty incredible opportunity down there. Are you seeing investors becoming more and more active in Jacksonville now?
Yes, we have lots of investors. We are working with one right now looking to buy 2,500 homes. So that really is a powerful statement when investors are looking here. They're looking in Orlando as well. Everyone wants to move to Florida sooner or later. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 25 years, and just a lot of people want to buy a piece of Florida, and investors are putting their money here. The rental rates, the sales prices are really perfect match for cash flow. It is really working. People are taking their money out of the 401ks, taking the money out of the bank, because we know what they're making on their bank accounts.
Right.
And they are investing in real estate. And,
well, I love it. I love it. You know, you think about a place where usually if you're getting positive cash flow and stability in values, you don't get the roller coaster ride where the market has overcorrected, right? You have to either you pick a place that's stable or you pick a place that's volatile. That's why I love the idea of the national marketplace in real estate, that when you dig in deep, what we're talking about here is a place that has explosive appreciation potential for the reasons that we've talked about here. Okay, I believe that's what's going to happen. I believe you guys are going to snap back and you're going to outpace the rest of the country pretty dramatically in terms of your appreciation over the next 15 years. But you're also getting a great deal in the pricing right now. So major upside, but also you're making money every month when you rent the place out, and there's plenty of demand for rentals. So, you know, you guys have a property management firm down there also, so people who buy a piece of real estate can basically plug into an existing operation who can keep an eye on it for them, maintain it for them, plug tenants in when tenants leave. It becomes much more of a turnkey investment than people think it is when they say, you know, I'm terrified of being a landlord. You don't have to be when you're working with a full-service operation like the one you run, Ed.
Also, we have maintenance, heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing. So we have full service available, which makes managing the properties very easy. We have a management division, and we really had the perfect storm that has created a lot of elements that just really make it incredible to invest. And I would say probably the best thing is it is great living in Northeast Florida, great living in Jacksonville. The lifestyle is fantastic.
Well, it's funny, you know, oftentimes when it comes down, after doing the analysis of all the hard things, you know, like the hard numbers and the hard data and employment things and everything else, when it comes down to why are people living there, it always winds up being something soft. It always winds up being just a lifestyle, you know? Like I can go to the beach and the air is fresh and it's beautiful, you know, 11 and a half months out of the year. And the people are nice, you know? So it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And that's kind of the message here, Ed, is we want people to understand that they can get this. I know, Ed, you know my company, OwnAmerica, we're educating the world on how to invest and build wealth in real estate. We have free classes that we offer online. You guys are offering free classes online as well. We're trying to show everybody that, hey, you can do this, all right? You can get this, and it's a heck of a lot of fun, and it requires you to use your brain power, but you can discover things that other people are missing that literally can help you retire filthy rich, if that's one of your objectives. So, hey, listen, thank you, Ed. I really appreciate it. You can be found at watsonrealty.com. Is that right?
Yes, watsonrealtycorp.com.
watsonrealtycorp.com. That's Ed Foreman. He's the president of Watson Realty Corp. Thank you so much, Ed, for being on the show.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, so we're going to go to a break, and we have a couple of calls, but we have room for more. So if you want to give us a call, 800-848-WABC. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I'm Greg Rand, your host on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. My website is OwnAmerica. My book is Crash Boom. And my mission in life is to help you secure your financial future by investing in American housing. We have a couple of calls on the line here. Hey, Dietrich from New Jersey, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks. So what do you have in mind here?
I'm from New Jersey, and I was on business in Phoenix. And I found this very nice condominium community, but I couldn't purchase the condo that I wanted because we didn't agree on the price. And now I'm back and I'm kind of reconsidering, and I called again and it's still available. But I'm not sure whether it's a good deal or not, because I'm not sure how much money I have to spend on repairs. If I rent it out, And do you have any guidelines how to calculate?
Well, no doubt. Well, here first of all, Phoenix, Arizona is an interesting market because it is a great American city. It's got great growth prospects. We talk about this a lot on the show because the story on Phoenix is that it got absolutely destroyed by the housing crisis, okay, because it played right into it. Everyone knows Phoenix is a growing city. When the market was booming, developers and bankers and speculators converged on it. They overbuilt the marketplace, and prices in Phoenix are way below where they were 10 years ago. I mean, it is like it went off a cliff. So the dinner bell is ringing, okay? The opportunity is huge out there because what's happening in Arizona is that it is siphoning off population from California. California's crowded, California's expensive, and California isn't changing its ways. And so people are leaving California, they're going to Arizona, and so Phoenix is going to burn off all of that excess inventory and begin to appreciate again, and I believe it's going to be one of those snapback markets that is overcorrecting right now. But to answer your questions, you need to know answers to everything you just said, okay? If you don't know what the rental market, if you're not sure what the rental market is, you got to find yourself somebody really strong in that area, and we can help you do that. That's part of what the OwnAmerica Network is a national network of professional real estate investment specialists. You have to know, get estimates on what it's going to cost to repair the place. Don't guess, all right? We have a calculator on our website called the Case Study Calculator. So you go to OwnAmerica.com, look for the Case Study Calculator. You can plug these numbers in, plug your assumptions in, and look 30 years into the future on how much equity you develop, if you build, if your assumptions held true, how much cash flow you'd build, and what your internal rate of return would be. This thing is like a video game for real. It's like catnip for real estate junkies, all right? It's really a fun thing to play with, but it allows you to test your theories. But Dietrich, do yourself a big favor. Every single question you have needs an affirmative answer before you make an offer, and don't think for a second that that unit is somehow unique, all right? Don't rush because you found a unit you liked, because you know what? There's another one coming, okay? They have nothing but inventory in Phoenix right now. It's burning off, but there's just so much that you'll find something else you like just as much when you get the answers that you need and when you have all your ducks in a row. So thanks for the call. I hope that helps. We've got Robert from Queens. How you doing, Robert?
Hello, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for calling.
Great. Thank you for having my call. Okay, here's my story. I live in Bayside, Queens. I have a two-family house. Actually, the two-family house was my parents', and I lived there all my life up until now. In 1998, I entered into a life estate with my parents, and everything went well. And eventually, unfortunately, my parents passed away, and the house was mine all along, but still is. Anyway, here's the problem. About 6 months ago, I found out that my dad had all of these veterans deductions on the house. He had Star, and my accountant had pointed out to me, and I looked into it, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm only paying my taxes for the year here. I'm paying like $1,500."
Right.
So it scared me to death. So I found out what I had to do with the city. I wrote them a letter, certified, stating, that I need to get these removed. So, well, my question is this: what happens now? I haven't heard a word from them. Am I liable for the money, for the taxes? Could you basically tell me what happens, please?
That's a really good question, because what happens in situations like this depends on what they want to do, okay? If they've got rights to go after you for back taxes, there are people that owe taxes all across this country that there's nobody going after them because there's nobody to go and do that right now. And then they change their mind, and then one day they decide that they're going to enforce those laws. So there's no real clear way to know exactly how they're going to play it. I think you writing them a letter and you being proactive to bring this to their attention is going to accrue to your benefit, because you're not ducking from it. You're not trying to defraud the city there of taxes that are owed. You're trying to remedy this, and you want to keep a really, really good paper trail. Do you have an attorney to help you with this yet?
I have an elder attorney that I can use, but I did speak to him about it, and his opinion to me was just write the letter and sit tight and see what they happens. He goes, he's heard of cases where it's been years and you never heard a word back from the city.
Okay, well, if he's the right guy, if he knows what he's talking about, and it sounds like he's somebody that you trust, right. I think that by documenting the fact that you reached out first, they're never going to be able to sort of paint you as somebody who's trying to get away with something here. Right. And that's the key thing. And that, when a government agency turns around and says, hey, we have some money we can collect, this is the kind of time in history when they're doing that, like, hey, if we can collect $1, we're going to collect $1 because our budgets are so short right now. Right. But they negotiate. They're not in the business of going to you and saying, hey, we added up everything and we're going to add interest and penalties and you owe us $30,000. And you say, well, you're going to bankrupt me if you do that. they negotiate.
Right.
All right. So if you're going into this thing in good faith, they're going to respond in good faith. In my experience, they do. So if your attorney says one letter is enough, then one letter is enough. You might ask him, hey, you should just send another one on the anniversary, just to, that's like the Good Citizen Award of the year, right? You're like a Boy Scout. You send 2 letters and saying, hey, wait, do I owe you money? Nobody could ever fault you for that.
The house is incredible. I'm an electrician, so I gutted. I did all the work myself. It's in great shape. So, I mean, I could, sell it in a minute if I had to.
Okay, good. But you want to hang on to it. So you got memories there, and it sounds like a good piece of real estate in terms of where it's located. So, yeah, do that. Check with the lawyer and see if it's time for another letter. Otherwise, if he says hang tight, hang tight.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Robert. All right. So I once again left the show down to the last couple of minutes, and I wanted to talk to you about buy, improve, and hold. And so I'll do it in a fairly abbreviated fashion. You can always go to OwnAmerica.com, sign up for a free class, all done by me, all videos, all explaining all these things in detail. An hour is just not enough. You clear your throat and the hour's gone. Buy and hold, everybody knows buy and hold is the right way to build wealth in real estate. But professional investors want more, okay? They want a little extra edge, and so they buy into the buy, improve, and hold. And the areas of improvement, there are some obvious ones, okay? You buy a dilapidated house, you improve it physically, okay? Put a new kitchen in, put new appliances in, whatever. That's the obvious way, okay? Because if you have a property that is being rented, it's being rented for $1,000 and it's got 1960s appliances. When you replace those appliances and put better countertops on and better kitchen, better cabinetry, you can rent it for more. All right, it's real simple. It doesn't increase the value of the property per se when you put a new kitchen in. If you bought a house that you were going to live in and you put a new kitchen in, you didn't increase the value of the house. You increased the saleability of the house because it has a more updated kitchen. But when it's a rental property, it does, because how nice the place is directly related to how much rent you can get. How much rent you can get has an impact on what the value of the property is. So the most obvious thing is every piece of real estate in this country is in a constant state of renovation deterioration, all right? They're just wearing and tearing as we sit here right now. So there's always a piece of property in need of updating and renovation, and some people let their properties go so far down in terms of dilapidation that they can't even sell them because A, nobody wants them, or the banks won't finance them because there are some actual serious problems with the place. So they can't sell it to a home buyer who's getting a mortgage. There are people out there getting steals on houses right now because there's no competition for that to buy the property, because nobody who's going to live there and getting a mortgage can actually get a mortgage because the house needs too much improvement. Another one of the areas where there's opportunity to change and improve a property is in areas of zoning or allowable use. And I'll give you one quick example. I bought a property once. It was a 3-bedroom house. It had a den. The den had a closet. The den became a 4th bedroom. So that property increased in value as a result of that. So we are now down to the end of the show. I hope that was helpful for you. What I want to do is I want to welcome some of the new affiliates of the OwnAmerica Network. You're listening to Rand on Real Estate, which is brought to you by the OwnAmerica Network. We're proud to welcome our new affiliates this month: Century 21 Beggins in Tampa, Capstone Residential in Jacksonville, Coldwell Banker Preferred in Las Vegas, RE/MAX Advantage in Las Vegas, ERA Real Estate throughout Central New Jersey, Coldwell Banker Coastal Alliance in Orange County, California, ERA Caputo in Nassau County, New York, RE/MAX of Barrington in Chicago, RE/MAX Properties in Colorado Springs, RE/MAX Best Choice in St. Louis, Watson Realty Group in Jacksonville, and, of course, Better Homes and Gardens, Rand Realty, my family business. If you'd like to bring the OwnAmerica Network to a town near you, call us at 888-332-7722.
We love the weekends as much as you do.